All right, well, good evening, everybody. Ken Johnson here with you on this Tuesday evening. And we are tracking thunderstorms this evening across the area. What's happened is some thunderstorms have developed north of a stalled frontal boundary. The stalled frontal boundary is way to our south. It's actually across central Texas, just north of Interstate 20 tonight. North of it, we have a chilly north wind bringing cooler air down into the area from the north. And behind the front, we've seen some what we call elevated thunderstorms pop up. And what I mean by elevated thunderstorms, they're rooted, their base, it's called rooted, higher up in the atmosphere. So what happens is outside, it's cool. Remember, when you get a thunderstorm, you have to have an imbalance in the atmosphere. So outside, the Earth's surface is stable, it's cool. But then you go up higher in the atmosphere, and above that cool air, you have a layer of warm air. It's up there, way higher in the atmosphere. So your parcels of air are rising from that higher point in the atmosphere into some cooler air even higher up. So they're called elevated because they're elevated in the atmosphere. Typically speaking, elevated thunderstorms are nothing serious. They usually produce some heavy rainfall, thunder, lightning, and they can produce mostly small hail. Sometimes the hail can be a little bit bigger, but mostly what we're looking at here would be smaller hail. And we can look at the radar this evening, and you can kind of see that band of thunderstorms is how to develop from about Oklahoma City down into parts of Comanche County. Then it kind of drops southwest from there into northwest Texas. There's been some storms on the east side or southeast side of Vernon. Looks like Oklahoma Union, Harold, perhaps seeing some thunderstorms at this time. These storms are also out towards Electra and into southern Wilbarger County and into Baylor County. These thunderstorms and this band are kind of moving northeastward, and it looks like the spots that are going to continue to be wet from this area will be from about, let's say north of Mundy, Knox City, up to near Kroll, then from there up to Vernon or just southeast of Vernon in that band. These will continue to move northeast. I think they miss Seymour. It looks like it's going to miss Seymour now, but Electra, you'll get wet, maybe Burke Burnett, and then eventually into Lawton. I don't know that these storms are going to make it into Wichita Falls. They could brush us here overnight tonight, but I think at least judging on the appearance on radar, unless these storms shift a little bit more east than northeast, we might miss the heaviest activity here in the city. But I think Burke Burnett, Electra, maybe Iowa Park, we'll say McGargle, perhaps KMA. It's a chance Wichita Falls could get brushed with that. And then you get on up into Cotton County, Tillman County, Frederick, Granfield, Randelette, Walters, Geronimo, Lawton, Duncan, Medicine Park, Elgin. Those areas probably get it. And again, these are not severe thunderstorms. These elevated thunderstorms might be producing a little hail, pea-size hail. And these might rumble overnight tonight. But remember, I know you that get storm anxiety. We talked about that. I asked a question on my page earlier today. And a lot of people were nervous for nighttime thunderstorms, but these types of storms are nothing to be scared of. They're nothing to be upset about. So if you hear some rumbles of thunder in the middle of the night, outside is too cool. This is not tornadic. This is not serious severe, but you might hear some dings of a little small hail on your rooftop. So that certainly is a possibility. So I'm going to take some time now to answer some questions on our chat here. Earlier tonight, I tried to do some of the severe weather awareness week. Remember, this is severe weather week here at News Channel 6. Tonight, we had Garrett James talking about what to do after a tornado hits. And then tomorrow night's the one you want to see, Storm Anxiety. It's a 6-minute long piece. We talked to a couple of elementary age girls who were in the Jacksboro tornado and how it's created a lot of fear every time it thunders. I talked to them and to their dad. I talked to Katie Lister, who's a nurse practitioner for a local psychiatrist. She gave great insight. You thought I was talking to the actual doctor himself. And I also talked to a local veterinarian and Sophie. Sophie's a dog you're going to meet tomorrow night, and she's terrified. It's really cute. She's terrified of bad weather, and what she does is super cute. She actually jumps in the refrigerator, so we're excited about that. So make sure you tune in tomorrow night, and we're going to give you a lot of good tips on what to do if you do suffer from storm anxiety. All right, so let's see what questions here. We got Tony Rain. When I can't see what's happening is when my anxiety amplifies. I can understand that, and I'll tell you a story here in a minute. Sandy, I've been jumpy since '79. I can understand why, and that's like it's the same thing. It's the same thing as PTSD. It is PTSD. That's what it is. Same thing as when a soldier goes to battle, and who knows what kind of hell he has to go through, right? He or she goes through. So they come back and they may hear like a car backfire, or there might be something that triggers it, and they get the extreme anxiety. Similar things happen in weather when you've been involved in something that's traumatic like that, and things like thunder, wind can trigger anxiety in your brain, and it can really cause you to freak out. Let's see here. Rebecca Moore, what do the next few days look like for rain chances? I've increased rain chances for tomorrow. I've been going kind of lower end because everything looked rather small and kind of scattered, but it looks like to me that the rain may be a little more widespread than what the weather information has been showing. I know tonight certainly is. And just looking at the latest radar, looks like we got a thunderstorm over Lake Kemp that's moving more east-northeast. So that might get Wichita Falls. I may have to change my forecast on that and change my mind on that in a few minutes. But looks like it's going to be pretty cool and wet tomorrow. I think we may stay in the 40s to near 50 most of the day tomorrow. So it'll be chilly tomorrow. I think the rain will move out on Thursday and Friday, though. I'm looking at the radar. I think that these storms just miss UNC more, but up towards Lake Camp, they're getting it right now, or about to get it if they haven't yet. And I'll show you the radar again in a moment. Becca Emmons, nighttime is scary when you can't see anything, especially tornadoes. And the good news is, Becca, in this part of the country, if you're watching from northwest Texas or south, out here in the traditional Tornado Valley, traditionally we don't get tornadoes late at night. They usually happen in a time frame from about 3 o'clock in the afternoon, with a peak somewhere around 5, 6, 7 o'clock, 8 o'clock time frame, and then after 10 o'clock the threat usually goes away. So usually we don't get it can happen, but it's rare to have tornadoes at nighttime here in this part of the country. Dale Cheek, I'm good as long as I'm outside and can see the storm. Dale, I know you are a weather nut like me, so I know you do. I know that's the case. You like to watch it. Houston, Mitchell, risk of power outages in the area. No risk for the power outages in the area from these storms, no. Stephanie says, well, as long as you're relaxed and don't have your sleeves rolled up, I'm not worried about it. So that's kind of my thing. When the sleeves get rolled up, that's kind of my little thing. Hey, it's starting to get a little bit serious. Not to get a little bit more serious. You may want to pay a little more attention now. So, Burt Burnett, you're just seeing off and on thunderstorms, not only tonight but also tomorrow night. And like I say, I'm watching the radar here. It's a close call for Wichita Falls, but we could get brushed with some of this. So. Time right now is 9:31. I got to go in about a few minutes. I tried to do some of the some talk about some stuff for Severe Weather Week Awareness Week around 5, 6 o'clock tonight here on my page, but my stream kept locking up and pausing and getting real laggy for some reason. The computer I use is a little bit older, so it's a gaming PC. It's a good PC, but I haven't. It's not. The graphics card isn't the best in the world to be doing this kind of stuff with. So that's why it gets a little laggy. Eventually, after I get enough money saved up, I'll buy a good one. I'm glad. See, and that's something else. Here's somebody says, anytime that there's bad weather, I tune into you and wait for you to teach us something. And one thing that good evening, Shane. And one thing that the psychiatrist, nurse practitioner talked about was education is key. Because if you know, the more you can reason with it in your head. Education is important, and try not to overthink. When you overthink, remember, your brain will lie to you. Anxiety is the way your brain lies to you, okay? The brain will convince you, with anxiety, will convince you of things that are not real. It'll convince you of things that you don't need to be worried about. The chances of you being killed in a tornado are like 1 in 5 million. It's a huge number. Matter of fact, I can look it up real fast. I don't remember what it is. Odds of you being killed in a tornado. And I also did some research And of course, most of our tornadoes that we actually get, even the big ones, they look like they're big, nasty, violent tornado, but a lot of times they're not. EF01s and 2s are most of your tornadoes, and those, I mean, any tornado can kill you, but those are the less violent ones. The EF3, 4s, and 5s are the ones you have to worry about. Thankfully, 4s and 5s just very rarely, if ever, happen. Maybe once a year you'll get a 4, and once every 3 or 4 years you might get a 5. But the odds of you being hit are really low, and the odds are, let's see here, 1 in 1,000 tornadoes documented in the U.S. are EF5 tornadoes. 1 in 1,000. In a given year, I think 150 is what we average in the U.S. I think I don't remember the number of tornadoes that we get. 10% are EF2 or stronger. 92% of all U.S. Tornadoes, according to Dr. Greg Forbes from the Weather Channel, and Dr. Forbes is a very, very, very smart guy. I'm trying to see here what he says here. I had it earlier, but I've lost it. So yeah, but the chances for you being 92% of U.S. tornado deaths from severe weather. All right, so EF2 or stronger accounted for 10% of all the U.S. tornadoes, but 92% of all the U.S. deaths. So in other words, EF2 or stronger are the ones that are bringing most of the deaths, but it's only 10% of the ones we actually get. So that's not a whole lot. So your odds are 1 in 12,000 of being killed by a tornado. That means that's a very low number. That's almost like a lottery. Or actually, it isn't killed. It's the chance of being hit or in a tornado is 1 in 12,000. I'm 46 years old. Well, I will be 46 years old in 2 weeks. And I'm going to tell you a story. Storm anxiety is actually what got me interested in weather. When I was in the 5th grade, I lived in, as you know, I'm from Mississippi originally, born and raised there. I was in November, and I was in the 5th grade at Byram Elementary School. That was just south of Jackson, a little small suburb there. Town has really grown up since. As a matter of fact, my school is no longer there. They demolished it and put a big Walmart in, which is kind of sad. But I was in the 5th grade, and we were in the classroom. I tell all my my school visits I go on this. So we were in the classroom. It was a November afternoon. It was about 2:30, and of course school got out at 3, and we were ready to get out. It was on a Friday. We were excited. We were ready to go home. Well, I remember the clouds got super dark outside. And we ran. I didn't run to the window because I was terrified. I was scared of weather. But a lot of the kids ran to the window, and my teacher's name was Miss Clark, and she was kind of mean. If you're watching Miss Clark, sorry. I don't even know if she's still alive. I don't know. But anyway, they said, "Oh, Miss Clark, there's a tornado coming. We see it coming across the field." She said, "No, it's not. Sit down. It's just a thunderstorm. Sit down. Be quiet." About that time, the lights went out. And over the intercom, our little alert came out, and the building started shaking, and the wind was blowing ferociously outside. We didn't even. It wasn't nothing orderly about it. We all took off and ran and got in the hall. I was absolutely mortified. I thought that was it. I said, "This is it." The doors, and these doors were big, hard, strong doors, blew open. Keep in mind, it's pitch dark in these halls, and everybody's screaming and crying. And it lasted about, maybe a minute. The school was not hit, and we were narrowly missed. Now, the shopping center across the way was tore up a little bit. The tornado actually went on up, I think it kind of went up the Pearl River there, and I think it wound up doing some bigger damage on up the way. And I know there was at least one home that was being a big 2-story home that was being constructed just south of the school, and it was wiped out. So the tornado was pretty strong. I don't remember what it was rated as, but it was pretty strong. But thankfully, it missed the school. But I was terrified. That was tornado number 1. Tornado number two happened again. November is always a big month for tornadoes in Mississippi. Tornado number two happened when I was, my dad took me deer hunting when I was probably pretty close to the same age, probably. And we were at my uncle's house. They had a house there on their land where I guess it wasn't technically, it was his land. It wasn't his lease. It was his land. But the house, nobody lived in it at the time. It was a big, nice, huge, beautiful home, but nobody lived in it. So we're in there, and it starts getting dark outside and real windy. And one of the guys jumps off the porch and is about to get in his truck, and he looks up, and my uncle's name was John. He said, John, there's a tornado coming. It's right there. And there again, I'm terrified, and I run inside, and we're not in there very long. And it doesn't last long. The tornado doesn't last long at all. We come out, and there's trees broken down. It was a weak tornado. It wasn't a bit. Well, I would say probably EF0. Just some tree limbs broke, but I was terrified. I was so scared. So from then on, every time there's a tornado, I freaked out. I mean, I flipped out. I had a little NOAA weather radio, a little box, and I slept by that thing. Every time it thundered at night, I'd turn that thing on. I remember one time when I was working I used to work at a veterinarian clinic when I was in college, before I went to meteorology school. This was early on in college. And I brought my NOAA weather radio because I knew there was going to be bad weather that day. That thing kept on going off, and the doctor finally said, "You got to turn that thing off. It's very distracting." So, but it was that fear that I had that I also found to be incredibly cool. Yes, I was worried to death. Every time a tornado warning was issued there in Hinds County, and it happened a lot. We got way more tornadoes there than we do here because the seasons are longer there. Initially, when I went to school, I did not go to school to do weather. I was going to do something in the medical field. I got to get ready here in just a minute. And believe it or not, when I was in high school, I did not make good grades. It's because I didn't apply myself, as my teachers used to tell me. I didn't apply myself. I wasn't worried about school. I wanted to play sports. I wanted to think about what I was doing on Friday and Saturday night. When I went home, I wanted to talk on the phone. Remember back then you had the big old phones that would stretch, had the cord out. Wanted to talk on the phone. I didn't want to do that. I wanted to watch TV, play Nintendo. I didn't want to do grades. But I passed. I got through high school. And before I went to college, I had one of my teachers that came up to me and said, "Ken, college isn't for everybody. Maybe you should consider something else. Maybe get a trade, or maybe just go into the workforce, go in the military." So I was like, yeah, I got a little bit of a chip on my shoulder now. So I went into college, and I discovered that with the chip on my shoulder, I actually was smarter at school than I thought. I breezed through my maths, all my maths, and I never made below a B in any of them. So I breezed through those. What I struggled with more than anything was English. So when I first went to school, I was like, I can do this. I'm going to do something in the medical field. And then in 1996, we had an ice storm, and I was glued to the TV and it's Raymond, or technically kind of Clinton, kind of over there in that area. I was glued to the TV set watching a guy by the name of David Hartman. And I decided that night that I'm going to go into weather. So I'm already taking all these hard math classes anyway, might as well do it. Went to Mississippi State, graduated in May of 2000, and the rest is history. And I could tell you other stories, how I wound up. People ask me all the time, how'd you wind up here? I know another story for that. Another story, another time. So, it isn't Harmon, it's David Hartman, and he's at the ABC station in Jackson, Mississippi. He's a very good meteorologist, very, very, one of the best in the business. He's not as well known as somebody like James Spann, but he's a outstanding person. He and I are the same. Only difference is David probably does not go quite as in depth with education like I do here on my Facebook pages. He's a little more reserved there. So that's weird. It says I have no viewers on Facebook. Did we drop out? I have no idea. But there is your radar there. And the radar is showing those thunderstorms. And it looks like now Wichita Falls will be impacted by these. So expect that. Looks like heavy rain here in Wichita Falls from that little line there, and pea-sized hail at the most. All right, well, I don't know what happened here. I hope I didn't drop out on Facebook. Oh, there it is. I'm back up to 48 viewers there. So maybe it just hadn't, the number just hadn't caught up there. I don't know. So, but anyway, well, thanks for joining me here. I'm going to try to post some video later tonight of what I was trying to do earlier today when my computer kept on freezing up. So I got to go get ready for the newscast. But look at that line of thunderstorms. That band of thunderstorms is now trying to develop a little bit further south and further southeast. So Electra, KMA, Iowa Park, at least maybe Holiday, maybe Wichita Falls, Burke Burnett, those areas probably all get wet. These storms will probably miss Seymour, at least initially. Probably going to miss Henrietta too, but the fall is going to be a close call. Parts of the city may get some pretty good rain. If it takes more of an easterly jog, then all the city will get rain. But if it continues on its same path, it's just going to kind of brush the city on the south, on the south side of the storm will brush the city with some heavy downpours. All right, well, I've got to go and get ready for the newscast. You can, for more on these storms, just watch me tonight at on News Channel 6 coming